The following is a paraphrased reflection of Damien Comolli's first words as general manager of Juventus. A vision, a commitment, a new era in black and white. A new chapter begins. It is a great privilege for me to lead this club. I grew up watching the legends of Juventus, but I'm here because this is a winning organisation, one obsessed with doing things the right way. Igor Tudor will be our manager, not just for the Club World Cup, but for the 2025-2026 season, and hopefully beyond. I remember facing his Marseille side. What impressed me most wasn't just the tactics, but the intensity, the resilience, the fight in his players. I've been working with data for 25 years. It's not a trend. It's the most rational path in an irrational industry. Data will shape how we build our squad, how we prepare for matches, and how we make every decision off the pitch. We will build smarter, recruit better, prepare relentlessly. Identity matters, but the edge comes from precision, from improvement every single day. I wake up every morning excited about this project. Juventus isn't just a team, it's a symbol. And together, we're building something that reflects that symbol, with intelligence, with passion, and with a hunger to win. Welcome Damien Comolli. Welcome Igor Tudor. The future is being built, one calculated step at a time. So, Damien Comolli has finally come out and revealed himself to the camera, to the media, to the whole world. Who is Damien Comolli? What my vision is, what my plans are, and on top of everything, who my new coach, well, he's not really the new coach, but who the coach of Juventus will be. Now, before we dive into everything, if you're new, make sure to subscribe. If you're a subscriber, I love you. Make sure to like the video. I always appreciate when you guys like the video. I always appreciate when you guys engage in the comments. Now, let's start off with the elephant in the room. Damien Comolli has come out and put that one lingering thought in the back of a lot of people's minds to bed. Who the new coach will be. It doesn't matter who the new sporting director will be. The new coach will be Igor Tudor. If Juventus were to be knocked out of the Club World Cup, Igor Tudor is the coach. We will start the Serie A campaign with Igor Tudor as the coach. And I actually like the fact that he justified his decision. Well, he came out and said, listen, I've sat down and spoken to Igor Tudor. I was impressed. I've kept an eye on Igor Tudor, how well he's done at Juventus, and I've been impressed. And I also know of Igor Tudor from the past, from his Marseille team. His Marseille team was notoriously well known in Ligue 1 for being the most high-pressing team in that league. And he's also touched on the fact that with high pressing, with the implementation of data, we can build something very, very exciting at Juventus, and that is the direction that he's looking to take the club in. Now, when it comes to Igor Tudor, I've expressed it before where I genuinely feel like maybe, just maybe, the job is too big for him. But of course, sometimes in life, you need luck. You need that opportunity which you might not be ready for, but because of the expectations, because of the demands, because of maybe how hard you truly want to make it work, you step up to the plate. And we've seen throughout life, throughout football, throughout managers, throughout football players, sometimes you're put in a position, in a role, in a team where you don't really have the credentials to be there, but you prove everybody wrong. And it shows a serious level of growth. And the one thing that I feel like Igor Tudor has in his locker, which especially when you compare the other candidates that Juventus were looking at heart, his DNA is a Juventini. Okay, he's represented the club. He's won with the club. He cares about the club. Like even when you see last season, when Juventus won a game, this dude is stood on the sideline. It looks like he's about to cry. Like he's happy to be there. He's passionate. He cares about the club. And those types of people tend to give you 120%. Now, in my opinion, when comparing Tudor to some of the names that Juventus were being linked with after they missed out on Conte and Gasperini, I come to the opinion that maybe, just maybe, Tudor is the best for this season. And this, for me, this season is the biggest audition of his life. It's the opportunity to cement your name amongst greats, to cement your name in the pecking order to be the permanent coach of this team for the foreseeable future. He's already got a head start, in my opinion, which is he understands the Serie A, he understands the players, he's worked with them, they understand him. So when pre-season comes, or even when the Club World Cup comes, these players are not looking at him thinking, I don't know who you are, I don't know how you communicate, I don't know how you want to play, I don't know what your formation is. No, and this is a head start that can benefit Juventus in comparison to teams like Milan, where it's a fresh start under Allegri, in comparison to a team like Roma, where it's a fresh start under Gasperini. The players are familiar with him and he's familiar with them. But what does the future hold for Igor Tudor's philosophy? And I feel like that's a great question which warrants a video breakdown. Under Igor Tudor, Marseille adopted a dynamic 3-4-2-1 system built on relentless intensity. Damien Comolli was struck by the sheer urgency of that side, a team that pressed high, pressed hard, and pressed together. Tudor's model demands collective aggression, every player committed, every pass contested. Comolli and the new sporting director now face a mission: identify and build a squad which can thrive in Tudor's high press blueprint. Now, to recruit the right players, Damien Comolli will be leaning towards data. Some of the key metrics he'll be focusing on are PPDA, passes per defensive action. It calculates how many passes the opposition complete before the press reacts. For example, a low PPDA indicates high intensity, whilst a high PPDA indicates a very unconstructed press with minimal to low intensity. These are the players that Juventus should be staying away from. And the list goes on. For example, pressures in the opponent's half, which indicates the amount of times a team applies pressure to the opponent, especially in the final third. Then, defensive distance, something Igor Tudor would love. It indicates the average field distance from a team's own goal and where defensive actions occur. A lower number signals deep, high pressing. Then you've got counter pressures and pressure regains, which focuses on the amount of time a team applies pressure within a 5-second turnover and how often it results in regaining possession. Then pressure intensity, something Igor Tudor would love. A tracking based measure, which measures the closeness and the amount of players on the ball carrier tied to the turnover frequency. These metrics don't just reveal that a team presses, but how aggressively they press, how high they press, and how collectively their structure functions. And there's so many more. But I don't want to bore you guys. Commonly, and the new sporting director will use these indicators to filter for players and build a team of Igor Tudor's philosophy. For example, they'll seek low PPDA, but high pressures in the final third, high aggression, high pressure regains, and high pressure intensity. And then on the pitch, those players will need to execute close-in triggers, shifting as a unit, exploit and regain space. This is how Tudor will translate pressing intensity into the Serie A. And maybe, just maybe, dominate. A new era of high pressing and database signings at Juventus. So now we're aware on how data will be used to improve this Juventus squad and how it will take Juventus into this new direction. The onus is on Damien Comolli. The resources, the facilities, the 25 years of experience is there. I pray that Juventus actually go out and get a sporting director that maybe, just maybe, has experience in rebuilding teams of a certain philosophy, the philosophy of somebody like Igor Tudor, because that way he'd be more familiar and he'd understand what key metrics are most important and what metrics aren't so important, and maybe, just maybe, he'd know which leagues, which teams tend to have the players of Igor Tudor's demands and standards. The board all has to share the same vision, and that is one thing I could say as of now. Commonly believes in Tudor, Tudor believes in Commonly, they share the same vision, they want to take the club in the same direction, playing under this brand of high pressing. The example I always love to share is, for example, somebody like Jurgen Klopp, one of the pioneers of gegenpressing, high pressing football at Liverpool. He turned around one day and said, listen, I'm very familiar with a player called Julian Brandt from his time at the Bundesliga. I want Liverpool to sign him. Michael Edwards turned around and said, you might be familiar with him, but the numbers don't indicate this will be a good signing for the brand of football you are trying to play. Let's look at somebody like Sadio Mane, and the rest is history. If you didn't know, he was one of the highest pressing players in the Premier League. He contributed to their success. He contributed with goals. He goes down as a Liverpool legend, and this all comes down to smart recruitment. There's people higher up that are more responsible, that are more equipped to identify who the right players are and give the coach the players that cater to his needs. This is where I look at Commonly, this is where I look at the new sporting director, and I look at Igor Tudor and I say, listen, the opportunity has fallen in your lap. Implement your system, get this team playing in the right way. And listen, it's an exciting era, but it can go one of two ways. That's just life. That's just football as a whole. If Juventus operate in a very smart and efficient way, it could be the beginning of something great. But if Juventus don't operate in a smart way and they try to cut corners and they try to avoid spending money, then it will be the biggest time waste for everybody. For us, for the coach, for the players, for the sporting director, for everybody collectively. Okay? So only time will tell. But at the moment, it's definitely something to be excited about. God knows what the future holds. Now, if you're new, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on another one.